I'm Tamika Smith, the founder and executive director of Styles for Kids, and I'm so excited about this new series of talks that we're going to be doing with our new host, Luke Mitchell, one of the transracial adoptees who is in our network. Thank you, Luke. I'm so excited about this. We've been talking about doing this forever.
Yes, we have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's with the name Hairitage? How'd you come up with that?
I'm gonna be real with you. ChatGPT.
Really?
Yeah, I just typed that in.
Wow, amazing.
I wasn't. Yeah, it popped up, and then I started doing some thinking and some reading. And you think about it, you deal with the hair.
Yes.
And I deal with the culture.
Yes.
And you bring those together.
Yes.
Heritage. Now, we're going to get deeper.
Yes.
We're going to get deeper in that in the season. This is our first time, our first go around. And again, you had said, we tried, we've talked about this. I think the time is now.
Yes.
We have support. I have support from my wife.
Yes.
And I just think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we're in this new world of AI, making the adjustment. But
yeah, I had to be honest.
Wonderful that you did that. So tell us, why are you doing this? Why is this important to you?
As you know, my life has been ups and downs when it has to do with the adoption, with my hair, with the culture, and just kind of knowing who I am. I've talked probably numerous, conferences and panels and different organizations, and it's good. And you only have probably 30 to 40 people that's probably you're talking to, or it could be more. I feel like getting out nationally, getting out to the people want to listen, right? And people want to hear a story, like the realness, the transparency, what I have gone through, and what a lot of times their kids, their adopted kids, foster kids, adopted kids, are going through. And saying, hey, it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. It's okay, but these are the steps. These are what you need to do. And this is what I have done. I've kind of touched, and I think we talked before, I touched on kind of every little bit of trauma that the adopted kids go through.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of say, hey, this is how I dealt with it. This is how I came out on top. So, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And, we're excited about doing this because, Styles for Kids, which is an organization, not-for-profit organization now, that was birthed out of a heart of wanting to be there for parents and kids in a community like yourself.
Yes.
Who are looking not only for hair care services, but also for a way to connect.
Yes.
It's the community piece.
It is.
That is so important. And being able to educate parents about why that is so important. And so as an organization that is now going into our 13th year, one of the things that we want to do and we want to turn up is our advocacy.
Amen.
It is our position,
Amen.
I feel like, to speak to parents, to speak to agencies, to speak to transracial adoptees like yourself. And we're bringing all those pieces together, right? We're bridging communities.
Yes.
We want to bridge the gap, the cultural gap that is between the Black community and these communities of families who are raising children of color. And we want to speak on behalf of the children that we are serving, we're having a direct impact on every single day. But we want to be able to bring topics that people can see the issue, number one. Number two, want to get involved. And then number three, be inspired.
Amen.
We are in a culture where we're looking for those stories of inspiration that are not only going to help drive us to keep us going, but that is going to drive the families and the kids who we're serving in our community to know that there's hope.
You touched on something a second ago, and I was like, oh, we are all connected. Everybody's connected with their phones, with the computer, but we don't have any community.
That's it.
And it's easy to hide behind your phones with kids. It's easy to give your kid your phone and have them, hey, give me a minute. That's what I'm doing with my kids. I'm sitting there, I'm like, here's the phone, get away from me.
Right.
I love you. I just want to be away from you right now.
Exactly.
But I like, with that, growing up, and you had said, like, the more white communities, which I have found, where I grew up, who adopt kids, it is, let's bring this child into our home and let's kind of make them be like us.
Yes.
Let's make them conform to our family.
Yes.
And I don't want to, because I know my mom's probably going to listen to this, my family's going to listen to this.
Absolutely.
In 1985, I'm 37 right now, there was nothing like this. They didn't have anything like this where people can come, ask questions, and be vulnerable and say, I don't know what to do.
Yes.
There is stuff now.
Yeah.
And so growing up, for me, in that community, I did a lot of things on my own. I had to figure it out on my own. And it wasn't until my late 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a family now. I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
My wife is actually adopted, which people are going to ask, how did you meet? That's the first thing. How does that happen? Yeah. We met on adoptionmingle.com.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. Okay. But then going forward, and I don't want to touch on everything, but living in that community, I didn't know where to get my hair. My mom used to just buzz my head, just buzz it, and so my hair would be flaky, itchy, dry. But then you go around, and I'm going to school, and you're around other people who look like you, and they're all lined up. Yeah. Their hairs are all done up, like it is, and you look at them, and they look at you, and they know.
Yeah.
You're not like us.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that kind of leads me into why we created Styles for Kids.
Amen.
You know?
Yes.
And I met a mom, transracial adopted mom, in this community at Oak Park, and she had adopted 2 African American girls, and literally their story is the same as yours.
Yeah.
The oldest girl, when I met them, you know, she was like ashamed of showing me what her hair looked like.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know, this is a real issue.
Absolutely.
That no kid should be living in a community where they feel ashamed to go outside because of the way that their hair looks.
Yes. And
so the Styles for Kids mission was born out of that, you know. And so we are a nonprofit organization committed to providing hair care education, resources, and services for children in transracial adoptive, foster, and biracial communities.
Amen.
And we're all about empowering, right? We want to empower parents.
Yep.
And we want to give kids confidence.
Amen.
In themselves.
So, in the empowerment part, I'll tell you my story. And for you listeners out there, I went in. It took me. I didn't go to my first barbershop was when I was 22, 23 years old, and I would show up, go to the barbershop. I found out where there was a black barbershop. Now I would pull up in there with my car, and I would park, and I would watch people go in for hours, just watch them, wanting to go in, wanting to be a part of it, but being like, I don't fit in. What am I going to ask for? My hair is a disaster. My hair itches. They're going to call me a fraud. I did that for 2 years straight, every other day. And I would just disappear right after work. And it was very traumatic. And I won't go into so much details of that process of me actually getting my hair. But what I do now is I have brought families to my barbershop with the parents.
That's wonderful.
And said, hey, you're coming in because guess what? You're uncomfortable, right?
That's right.
They're uncomfortable going into their son's barbershop.
That's right.
And the transformation of that kid once he gets that haircut. I remember when I got my haircut for the first time. And I've told my daughter this: I love my barber, I love my wife, and I love you guys. And those words. Because and I said, she's like, really? I'm like, no. I was like, no, I'm just kidding. But there's confidence, right? There is this holy cow, and that's where the hair comes in, right? But then there's also the culture, which is part of that. Which there's a lot of different things that the culture. It could be with music, it can be with how you're dressing. The type of foods, right? These are things that I knew nothing about, and we will get into. Let's see what else.
Well, that's great. Let's just go into that. Like, you know, what's your story? Like, take us back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, who is Luke? Why are you here? What about your story has created this passion? So just tell us about you.
So I was adopted. My birth mother was 14 when she had me, and gave me up for adoption 3 days. And my parents, I have an adopted sister, I have an adopted older brother, who we'll get into. My sister's Indian, and then there was me, as was a third, and then my parents had the golden child. I call him Jeremy. I tell them all the time, he's the golden child. And growing up was in that community that I spoke about. Loved the community. They loved me, but I was alone, right? I always say, you're going down the hallway and you're going back and forth. There's white people on one side, there's black people on the other. And I'm going back and forth, right? My identity, I'm trying to find my identity by myself. And then I am more culturally white in how I feel, right? Because that's the community that I was in.
Absolutely. So
fast forward, you had middle school. First, my mom, my family, they homeschooled us. Then they threw me into public. Then they threw me into private. And that's a whole dynamic. Then the hair, the foods. I didn't know anything about actual soul food, barbecue.
So what you're saying is that there was little or no connection.
There was no culture. And the only culture that I had was my family saying, hey, go be with your birth grandparents, but we don't want to be involved, right? And it wasn't not intentional. They were trying to do this for me. Right. But as I always say, make it natural.
Yes.
Right? Make it natural.
That's
like,
important.
You don't have to sit there and go and knock on black people's doors and be like, hey, I mean, you can, which is nice. Yeah. But if you're going to adopt a black child, you better have some friends that might look like them.
Yes.
That's already been established.
You're making a great point. You need community.
Yes. There we go. You need community. And it's not, yes, there is racial divide.
Yeah.
But if you're bringing that child into your home that is black or Hispanic or Asian, and I'm not just talking about one race, right? There's a reason why you're doing it. Yeah. But you also better have some people who might look like them, right? Yeah. Who might come from their culture. That's right. Makes them feel good. That's right. Makes them feel and I'll tell you a story.
And who they can relate to.
Yes. Who can they relate to? So, quick story. My daughter, my wife is Korean, and so my daughter, in society she's going to be black. She is very dark skin. Yeah. Her best friend from her old school is Korean. Now she has that dynamic where her best friend is also adopted. Her parents are one of our best friends.
Wonderful.
And so that dynamic, my wife doesn't have to even bring up the fact that she's adopted to this girl. Mm-hmm. She knows, holy cow, Miss Sarah looks like me.
That's right.
Carter looks like me.
That's right.
It's natural. Yes. It's a natural thing. Now, we did not try to make this, like, we didn't try to form this, right? We weren't saying, hey, listen.
Right.
She was like, Sarah, you're Asian. Carter, you're Asian. Let's bring the families together. Right. No, we were friends.
That's right.
Just so happened that they have an adopted child who's Korean.
Yeah.
Boom. There we go.
Yeah, but you were placing yourself in an environment where those connections could happen as well. Because I think one of the most isolating things that a lot of the kids who we serve experience is that you're in this all-white community where there's not even a possibility. Those possibilities of you making those natural connections just don't exist.
Because it's the uncomfortability.
Yes.
People don't want to be uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
We moved away from that community only 15 minutes. It's very diverse.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And, yes. But there are opportunities, right?
Yes.
But it's having those parents being like, hey, I'm going to be uncomfortable for the better, to better my kid.
Absolutely.
And if that's taking him to a barbershop. Now, as I said before, I take the families to the barbershop. Guess what? That's the only time I'm going to do it. Then next week is the parents' turn. But you see the parents, they'll do it with me, right? Because I can be in any group, right? But then they will, as I would say, either go again or they won't. And I see them around town and some of the their hair, right? I'm like, why are you going to, my parents won't take me, right? And so you have to kind of remind the parents.
Yes.
Because guess what? They're living in your world,
That's
right? Their cousins all look like them. Their cousins talk like them. Now, the child probably talk like them, act like them, but doesn't feel like them.
Yeah.
And that's where we'll go deeper.
Yeah, you're making a valuable point in that you said internally, I don't feel like them because you know that you're different.
You're different.
And so we can't ignore those facts. We have to run into them.
Yeah.
And parents really have to be intentional, especially if you're in an environment where these relationships can't naturally happen. And I think what happens is we let the cultural divide, prevent us, like you said, because you don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But the reality is that when you made the decision to adopt or foster or marry a person of another race, that you made a decision that you're now placing yourself in the uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Because guess what? Everybody knows your family doesn't look like the typical family. Everybody knows that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So why are we running away from that and trying to make our child fit into a mold?
Conform.
Yeah, exactly. That is setting them up to be struggling with their sense of identity, to be struggling to make those cultural connections, because they're going to be in the world as a person of color.
Yes, they are. And they are a person.
Yes.
The police they're going to say, hey, that's a person of color.
Yes.
They're teachers, they're friends. And if you can't if they're not comfortable in their own skin, it creates PTSD.
Yes,
it creates anxiety, suicide. So you put all those in, I couldn't leave the house at times, right? And again, my family I have to say again, they did the best they could at that time. And now that time is now where there is resources.
That's right.
If I had those, I think, I'm not saying everything would be perfect, but I would be able to stand on my 2 feet, I'm 37 now, not at 30 when I'm married and feel confident, right?
That's right.
But I would have been able to do it at a younger age.
Yeah.
And that the trauma that took place, the going through life with school and with sports and being the only Black There's only a few black athletes. A lot of them where I was growing up, they were either adopted also, or they went to my school, but I didn't fit in with them.
Yeah.
Right? I wanted to.
Yeah.
I let people kind of just roll over me, right? And I didn't have the confidence to stand up. I was like, hey, I'm in this white community. I need to conform to them, else I will be kicked out. I will be lost forever because nobody is gonna accept me. And I think with Styles for Kids, which your hair, if you guys were there when I was young, it would have been huge because you can ask questions, right? Because me going into that barber shop and I'll go back in, like I sat there when I finally went, and it took 2 years. I sat there, and I remember, and if you know, like those posters that they have with like the 1, 2, 3, 4, and they goes all the way to 30, right? And I have nappy hair. It's dry, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking, and I'm sweating. I remember I'm sweating in there, and I'm trying to look through. I'm like, wait, what number am I? What number am I? And I remember, okay, number 13, go. Yeah. You guys, like, your hair is not, you can't do that. I'm like, okay, 5. Yeah, no, it can't be. Okay. And I remember he was my barber for years and years after that. But he knew right away, because it wasn't his first time. He's been dealing with this for so long of kids who would come in and their hair is just destroyed. Or their hair is not well kept. Or their parents have just done what my parents did, just buzz. And so he was like, hey, I think we could do this number. Right? And I stuck with that number every day forever. I'm out here, right?
That's the thing about it. You know what's good for your hair.
You know it's good for your hair. And I meant the confidence that I felt, and I talked about it, but the confidence that I felt, that one time, has taken me into into being able to then figure out my other heritage, my other culture, right? Because that little piece, that's something that I saw, right? Everybody identified when I would go to school. I identified that guy's hair. It's like it's all lined up, right? It's a fade. I didn't even know what a fade was. Like, how does it go from really, really short to really, really dark? I was like, how does that? And I wasn't even going to attempt to ask my mom to do that.
Exactly.
But that confidence propelled me into finding out really who I was and finding out with foods, right? And finding out with music. And music, I wasn't allowed to listen to rap music. I wasn't allowed to listen to hip hop music because everybody thinks it's bad. Now there is trash. There is trash hip hop.
But there's a lot of good stuff.
There's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of great stuff because that's my roots.
That's right.
Speaking of roots, great band, great music.
Yeah, it is.
But I never knew, and so just the hair propelled.
That's it.
And for parents, I think start small.
That's right.
Start small.
Yeah.
And then it moves into different things, right?
Yes.
And it's okay, and it's okay for kids to want to express themselves after that, but right? Yes.
And it's a form of self-expression.
Amen.
And you need to allow it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so important. As your kid is developing that sense of who they are in the world, hair is one of the ways to express that.
Have you found when people come into your place,
absolutely.
That confidence build, right?
Yes, immediately. They come in as one person and they walk out as a completely
different. Yes. Amen.
And that's how it should be, right? And that's part of developing that well-rounded kid.
Do they become dependent on you though, like the parents?
No, but one of the things that we're about empowering parents is that we do have the training classes, right? Yeah. So they can come here, they can learn, and like you said, it is a safe space.
It is, yeah.
Where you can ask those questions, and people say this all the time. Well, I always say there are no stupid questions.
No dumb questions. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
In this
No question,
environment,
no
right? That's
question.
right.
Yep.
So ask your questions. That's what we're here for, and we're here to educate.
Yep.
Right? To educate you on those things that you need to do so that your child is not walking around. And I say this with all of the love in the world, but at the same time, those of you who know me, I keep it real.
Amen.
As an eyesore. Your child should not be an eyesore.
Yep.
Okay, they should be soaring with a level of confidence.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because they know who they are in their family.
Yes.
There's a culture of your family, but there's also the culture that they came from.
Amen. And
both should be embraced.
Yes.
And that is why this show is so important.
Yes, it is.
Because hair is where it starts. And I always say this, hair is a big deal.
It is. And
the reason why it's a big deal is because it is the door opener, right? So what you said, and I love that you highlighted that in your story, is it opened the door for you to experience your culture and to walk into all the other areas that you have been missing. Right?
And doing it, but I did it alone, right? And I think you coming around those families and giving them that empowerment and supporting them, I think that's powerful. Yeah. That's something that not a lot of people do.
And I'm so happy about your involvement in this community and you being here to speak to parents, to speak to kids, and to share your story. And so as we kind of wrap this up, one of the things I wanted you to share is, just to kind of sum things up, why is it important for parents to prioritize this issue? Because sometimes I feel that, I watch parents, they come in and out of here, you know what I'm saying? And we get to see parents from all different experiences and, their kids are all different ages. So sometimes I just feel like we're just going through life, right? Because we got to go to work, we got to have kids here, there. And I feel like sometimes that this is not a priority, right? So I want you to share, why is it important for parents to prioritize care, culture, making sure that your child is having these well-rounded experiences? Just bring that home. Why is this important?
We had talked before, and there are families that end up adopting or fostering, and their actual blood child, right? Their child, they're able to get. I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Their family's prioritizing their needs, right? Yes. Their family's prioritizing, let's say, Netflix.
Tell them like it is.
Their family's prioritizing vacations.
Yes.
Their family's prioritizing soccer clubs, football clubs, all these different things, right? And it costs money.
It does.
It's time to prioritize the child that you have decided to love and bring into this home, to say, hey, 100%. We love you. We don't know what's best for you, but we're going to do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to find out. Right? Dropping your kid off at a barbershop and leaving them. Yeah. But you not going in.
That's right.
It's not the right thing.
It's not.
It's not.
You're not immersing yourself in the culture.
You're not immersing yourself. And I'm not trying to say that I think we need to hit this. I'm not trying to say move into the ghetto. I'm not trying to say move into this part. No.
That's right.
But if
not being extreme.
No. But if you look around in your world and you look at your son and you look in your room, and this is how I kind of say it. You look in your room and you see white, and it's black, right? That's a problem. That's a problem.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be that complicated.
It's not.
Just prioritize.
Yes.
Immerse your family into the culture.
That's right.
And make it natural.
Yes.
And it will be so easy. It was so easy. Yes. It is so easy.
And I want to speak to those African American families that are out there. When you see these families trying and they're struggling through it, help them. Okay?
Help them.
Meet them at the place where they are. And you know what? That requires us to be uncomfortable too.
Yes, it does.
Because we're placing ourselves in a position where, you know, we've been traumatized by white people on all different levels.
Yeah.
And so, but the reality is that child needs us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, you know, my husband and I, we're being more intentional, you know, about creating a place of safety when we see these families reaching out to us to say, okay, we're grabbing for you. Okay, we're meeting you at the place where we are. And it has to be on both sides, I feel like.
Do you celebrate those families?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think like celebrating the good.
Yes.
And everybody wants to be celebrated.
That's right.
We can beat them, I wouldn't say beat them down, but we can share my story, we can share our experiences, and it feels overwhelming.
Yes.
But the fact that they're walking through your doors,
that's right,
and they're making a choice to prioritize their child needs to be celebrated.
Absolutely.
And for those parents that are doing that, like, thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's right.
Keep coming.
Keep coming. Keep bringing it.
And ask us questions.
That's
I know that you're going to have a platform for how to ask questions here.
Yeah, you can ask questions right here on Instagram or even any platform that you're listening to. Or you can email us at info@stylesforkids.org. We'll make sure those questions get directed to groups that are for him, and we'll answer any questions that we have. But the reality is that one of the other things I wanted to point out is that as white families that are welcoming and trying to be intentional about bringing these families, be sensitive to the fact, okay, that these families have experienced those traumas, right? And so there might have to be a few dinners, right? It might have to be a few outings, you know what I'm saying, before that family is going to feel comfortable open up to you. But my point is, stay in the awkwardness, because there will be an awkward phase, right? When you're trying to be intentional about these relationships, but stay in the awkwardness, press through it, because we're pressing through for the benefit of the child, right? And so we keep our mind focused on that. As we're wrapping it up, any last thoughts? Like anything else you want parents to know?
I think we need to touch base on kind of what this season is going to look like.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I think we can talk about my story, and I didn't want to give so much, right? We had Zoom calls and different things and different talks, and we have this plan, but to be honest, when me and Tamika are here, we just kind of go, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't like to be wrapped like a script.
That's right.
And so our producer Melissa's probably like, oh,
yes, exactly.
Right? But I will share my story little by little every single episode.
Yes.
And I gave a cliff notes.
Yeah.
It's not even the whole.
Yeah, the details.
The detail.
We want more of the details.
Yeah, we want more of the detail. Like, well, we know we're doing like a back to school podcast, and I can't wait to talk about that, right? Because I'm gonna tell you, that one right there is gonna be great. Yes. But I know there's so many families and kids that struggle with this. Yes. That struggle with this. And things that I went through, but things that I'm doing now with my own kids. Yeah. Right? And the same thing with you too. We talked about that. Exactly. Right? So I think the trauma, right? And my abandonment, right? The physical abuse that I dealt with. The I'm going to be honest, the drugs that I dealt with. The with adoption comes, there's a lot of different avenues a lot of kids go to. So then the drugs, the sex, I don't want to give it all.
But you're giving a lot of good stuff. And you don't want to listen.
I know. And like just all around trauma. Yes. PTSD that I live with, that I still live with. And PTSD is not just for the military. No. PTSD is for everyone. Absolutely. That has dealt with something, and everybody deals with it different. Yeah. And so I deal with it every day.
That's right.
I'm working through it every day.
That's it.
And so I want to bring that to you guys. I want to bring it to everybody.
And we got some exciting panels.
Yes, we do.
It's going to be coming up for you too.
Yes, we do.
So we're going to be inviting some more people into the conversation. And you don't want to miss those guests.
No.
This is valuable information, life-changing, and it's going to help you parents out there who need more information on relating to your kids, relating to people of color, relating to all the different issues that you're dealing with in raising a child of color in your community. So you want to be here. You don't want to miss it.
Yes.
You can reach Luke on Instagram. Give us your tag.
It is Mitch B. Luke.
Okay.
So
at Mitch B. Luke.
Mitch B. Luke.
So you want to follow him. Mitch B. Luke.
Mitch,
and we're going to put
M-I-T-C-H, B as in boy, L-U-K-E.
Yes.
It's the same thing as my email too. So
yeah, and if you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to make sure all of those tags are underneath us. If you want to follow Styles for Kids, you want to follow Styles for Kids, and you want to follow us on YouTube so you can see when these episodes come out. That's at Styles for Kids. You want to follow us on Instagram or on Facebook, and then we're right here on YouTube as well as podcasts for those of you who are just listening. But you want to follow us. Again, if you have questions, you can drop them below, or you can email them to info@stylesforkids.org. We'll make sure the questions that go for Luke get to Luke. And we'll even probably drop in some Q&A sessions and respond to some of those questions for you. So looking forward to the next episode. You guys stay tuned. Special shout out to our video person, Ryan Smith, and our producer, Melissa. Thank you so much. You're everything to us. And we'll be right here again. We're going to be doing this quarterly right now. So just look for the next episode coming up for Back to School. We'll see you then.
Okay, take care.